we're becoming a wellspring of God's love and grace. Reaching, listening, learning, serving. Patrick asked if I would be available to preach today, and I said I'd be glad to. I never turn down an opportunity if I'm available. And he said, we're to listening, and my mind immediately started going dozens of different directions with this theme. And so I'm glad that this time has finally come so that I can discover which one of them I'm going to choose and follow. When I listen to the passage where Jesus is talking to the disciples and he says, do you have eyes but you still don't see? Do you have ears but you still do not understand? Oh man, of the many ways that Jesus speaks across the centuries and speaks across the cultures, do we need to hear those words and really spend some time thinking about what they mean? We have eyes, but do we really see? We have ears, but do we really perceive and understand? Turn on any TV news for 5 minutes and then answer that question. We have eyes, but we're seeing some pretty weird things. We have ears, but we're not listening. There's a lot of noise out there, and hearing and listening are not the same thing. We hear sounds, but we listen too. We receive signals. But in order to listen, we have to actively engage. The kids get it. If you're going to listen, make eye contact. Pay attention. Care a little bit. If you don't care about something, if you don't care about a person, you don't listen. There's no need to. We tend more and more and more to look at those things we enjoy looking at and to listen to those people with whom we agree, that make us feel good, that encourage us, that inspire us. But it's evident that we're not really listening, even to the people we agree with, or we would be more upset with the way the world is. We, as the Christian church, I'm talking generically, Christians in our modern culture, we all say, wouldn't it be wonderful if Jesus showed up right now? Ken, you may have an opinion on this. Wouldn't it be wonderful? We just, we love to look at those passages and listen to those passages. God is love. Jesus holding the little children, Jesus carrying the lamb, Jesus talking all of these. Don't kid yourself for a moment. The people who heard Jesus in Jesus' own day, the vast majority of them did not want to hear what he had to say. Because at every step, Jesus came to people and said, do better. Be more. Get over yourself. Stop thinking only of your own needs, your own wants. When you see somebody who's hungry, feed them. When you see somebody who's naked, clothe them. When you see somebody who is in prison, go and visit them, give them comfort. This isn't all about you. John chapter 6 says, more people left Jesus, rejected Jesus than ever followed, and many who followed him got disillusioned and went away. Because Jesus said things that people didn't want to hear. So what happened to the church? Do we gather together once a week to hear things we don't want to hear? To sing songs we disagree with? No, we come here because this is a place of sanctuary, comfort, grace. We hear an inspiring word and encouragement. Many people come because the world out there is a hard place to live. And we need some place to come where we can rest, where we can focus on the good, where we can be a 1-hour optimist in a lifetime of pessimism, where we can just have some hope. Yet I'm not sure that if we gather here every week at this time, we're likely to ever have Jesus show up. Because Jesus, wherever Jesus appears, is with the people who need Jesus the most. Now, I'm not saying we don't need Jesus. But I'm saying if we take Jesus at Jesus' own words through the gospel, Jesus is out there engaged with people, and he is sharing a message that calls them to radical change and transformation. But as much as Jesus has a message, as much as Jesus has to tell, Jesus is also a miracle man because Jesus listens. Sometimes I think we miss the power of the story that Barbara read this morning of the woman who comes to Jesus. She's a foreigner. She's not of the fold. She's not of the chosen people. She's not of the tribe. But she believes that Jesus has the power to save her daughter, who is possessed of demons. And so she comes to him. In a culture where this is not okay, a foreign woman approaches a rabbinic teacher and says, "You've got to help me." And folks, listen. Listen to how Jesus treats her. I don't give good food, to dogs. That's not a very Christ-like thing to say. And this woman says, "But even the dogs get to eat the crumbs that fall from the table." Oh. We don't think about embarrassing Jesus. We don't think about shaming Jesus. Jesus is such a complete package for us. He never does anything wrong. But he was convicted in this moment. And Jesus, being Jesus, was big enough to say, "You're right. I'm sorry. Go in peace. Your daughter's made well." We don't find that woman inside our churches. She's out there. And out there is where people need to be heard. They need to be listened to. They need to be understood. They don't need to be judged. They don't need to be condemned. They may not be living in a way that we find acceptable. That's why we need to be out there with them. Listening. If we listen to God, God will invite us to come here once a week to celebrate, to pray, to worship. God will be with us to inspire us and to comfort us and to care for us. But God will be here speaking through the Holy Word to tell us it's not okay to stay here. That the grace of God, the love of God, the healing of God needs to be taken out into a broken world. And so we need to listen. But folks, let's not assume we already know how to listen. Our culture has become so polarized, so divided in so many ways. Here's an idea. You're going to love this. This is great. This week, all of you MSNBCers spend your week at Fox. And all of you Fox Newsers spend your week at MSNBC. And all of you who religiously avoid either, pick one. And go there, not to judge. You already know you don't want to hear what they have to say. If you wanted to hear what they had to say, you'd be there. So you're listening to those people who validate and encourage what you already believe. So go there knowing you're going to a foreign land. You're going someplace where you will disagree with much of what you hear. It will make you feel icky down in the pit of your stomach. And that's part of the point. Don't listen for what you disagree with. Listen to understand. There's something there that people believe in. There's something there that people agree with. And all of the people that are there and listen and agree, they're not stupid people. They're not evil people. They're people trying to figure out in this world how to get by day after day after day. As long as we stay in our camps and refuse to listen, really listen, not to figure out how to debate, not to figure out how to argue, not to figure out how to discredit or blame, until we can listen to understand, we cannot fulfill the mandate of the gospel. If we want to be Christ for the world, if we want to be Christian, we have got to start listening and caring in a way that will make us uncomfortable, in a way that will stir us up, in a way that we just really honestly don't want to do. But there are people out here just within blocks of this church that if we don't learn how to listen through our own understandings, our own thinking, our own biases, our own prejudices, we're never going to connect with them. And we're never going to be able to offer them Christ. I'll close with a story. Once again, I had stories just going through my mind, but this was a transformative moment for me. Early when I moved to Nashville, I was part of the Glendale United Methodist Church. Small United Methodist Church. Now, a small United Methodist Church in Nashville, Tennessee is like 400 members. It's a matter of scale. But it was a fairly small building. And while we were there, I was asked to co-chair Habitat for Humanity projects. Now, I was asked to come in as the spiritual director because anybody who has ever seen me with a hammer or a tool knows that I do more damage than I do good with tools. I am about as inept as can be. And so they didn't want anybody getting hurt. So they asked me to be there as the spiritual side. And we had some wonderful projects. And we were all set to go for a fairly local project. And we showed up, and it had been pouring rain for like 10 days. And we got there, and the director of the program said, we've got two options. We're either going to have to cancel the project you're on, or would you be willing to combine with two other groups, take them on, and go down to Alabama for a big week-long project? And we said, sure, we'll go, we'll be glad. And they said, well, good. Some of these people don't speak English. And, well, you'll see. So we got our stuff together, we get on a bus that they have, and the other two groups were a group from the Hindu Ganesha temple in Nashville. Nashville has a huge Hindu population. And the South Nashville Hells Angels biker gang. And Glendale United Methodist Church. And I'm the spiritual director, thinking, what do I say to okay, that's what I was saying, just basic blathering. We went off to this trip. The biker gang stayed to themselves. The Hindu contingent stayed to themselves. Glendale, we stayed to ourselves. And I thought, this isn't going to work. We need to be together in this. We need to be working together. And so we started trying to do some community building exercises, which just fell flat. Community building exercises barely work with people who want to build community. When you're with people who don't want to build community, just, So anyway, 2 or 3 people from the church and I decided rather to try to bring these people all together, we were going to divide and conquer. We were going to go and meet people 1 and 2 at a time and just get to know them. Just begin to talk to them. People didn't want to do it. They did not want to do it. I'm not sure that us good Southern United Methodists were more afraid of the bikers or the Hindus. But there was fear of the other. And then we started talking. And then we started listening. And then we started to find ways that we were very similar, that we had the same hopes, the same dreams. The reason we were coming on these projects was because we wanted to make a difference in the world. We wanted to address homelessness. And as we began to find commonalities, the differences disappeared. And when we finally gelled by about the 3rd day and came together truly as one community, some people were saying, this is great to keep going away and doing it, but what about the homeless people in our own backyard? We at Glendale said, there's a program project in Nashville called Room at the Inn. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to welcome people in, bring people off the streets, give them some good food and shelter. But Glendale, we have no space. One of the Hindus from the Ganesha temple said, we have incredible space. We even have showers. We have full facilities. And then the Hindu were honest to say, but we really don't know how to relate to street people. And the bikers said, those are our people. We would love to work with you. And so there, talk about interfaith ecumenical. We formed the Harley Hells Angels Hindu United Methodist Street Ministry of Central Nashville, a ministry that's still going to this day, 20 years later. None of it could have happened had we not gotten off of our position and taken time to listen. If we don't listen, we don't care. If we don't care, we don't act. And if we don't act, nothing is ever going to change. So friends, let us be intentional. Let us make a commitment to God and a commitment to one another, that if we are ever going to become a wellspring of God's love and grace, then we commit to become better listeners. Thanks be to God. Amen.